A cordial greeting. Today is Saturday, September 14th, 2024. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. In this video, I'd like to discuss several areas in the Atlantic. First, we'll talk about a zone located just east of North Carolina that could develop into a tropical or subtropical cyclone in the coming days, possibly impacting South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Additionally, I'll provide a brief update on what is already Tropical Storm Gordon, currently in the tropical Atlantic. Lastly, in the final part of this video, we'll discuss what we can expect over the next few weeks, as we keep an eye on the Western Caribbean and new tropical waves that will emerge from Africa. Let's quickly talk about Tropical Storm Gordon. You can see that it is projected to continue its west-southwest trajectory over the next 3 to 4 days. In fact, the National Hurricane Center forecasts that it could weaken into a tropical depression by early next week. However, it is projected that once it turns more northward, it could encounter favorable conditions to re-intensify again into a tropical storm, and in the long term, it could become Hurricane Gordon. The good news is that it will remain over the open waters of the Atlantic, posing no threat to land. Now, let's move on to view the visible satellite animation of the southeastern United States. Clearly, we can see a non-tropical low-pressure system currently located south of North Carolina. In the latest visible satellite images, we can observe that this area appears to be organizing, as it is generating strong thunderstorms near the low pressure. This low-pressure system is non-tropical, but will remain in this region for the coming days, and is positioned over the Gulf Stream, which consists of warm waters that move parallel to the southeastern U.S. coast. A slow movement over these ocean surface temperatures could give rise to the formation of a subtropical or tropical cyclone in the coming days. This is why the National Hurricane Center has raised the probability of cyclonic development to 50% over the next 7 days, to the east and southeast of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Therefore, it is important for residents along the coasts of Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina to stay informed with the National Hurricane Center's advisories, as major global models continue to project the development of a tropical depression and perhaps the next tropical storm, which would be named Tropical Storm Helene. Let's look at the latest projections from global models. Here we have the American model, the GFS. Notice that by Sunday afternoon, it develops a tropical or subtropical depression, and eventually strengthens it into a tropical storm, entering southern North Carolina and eastern South Carolina by Monday morning or afternoon. In this scenario, some tropical storm effects could be felt. We also have the projection from the European model, which is quite similar to the American model, but features a much weaker system that doesn't consolidate its center. In this case, it does not develop into a tropical storm, though it would still bring some rain and gusty winds. On the other hand, the German model has a strengthened low-pressure system, likely a subtropical storm, moving parallel to the North Carolina coast, bringing strong winds across Delaware and Virginia. Lastly, the UK model projects the development of a tropical or subtropical storm just east of North Carolina. Thus, it's very likely that the National Hurricane Center will raise the chances of cyclonic development at the 2 p.m. update. In terms of different scenarios, notice that the GFS model ensemble shows a track over the eastern U.S., with some members projecting it moving over North Carolina while others show a path over South Carolina. The important thing is that all of them show a weak tropical depression or storm. We also have the European model ensemble, which in this case projects a track a bit further north, possibly reaching Virginia or Delaware in the long term. So, in general, you can see that the states of Delaware, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina should remain alert to the evolution of this system, which could become a tropical or subtropical storm in the coming days. I will continue providing coverage to keep you updated on this forecast. Now, let's move on to the tropical Atlantic region. As you know, despite forecasts for a hyperactive season, the reality is that the tropical Atlantic has been less active than anticipated. One of the main factors is that the atmosphere in this region has remained more stable and dry than usual. This has caused tropical waves to encounter less than optimal development conditions. Although we are in the peak of the season, we are also in an unfavorable phase of the Madden-Julian oscillation for cyclonic development. However, yesterday we saw the development of Tropical Storm Gordon, and it is projected that by the end of September, a more favorable phase of the Madden-Julian oscillation will move through the Atlantic, fostering cyclonic development either in the Western Caribbean or the tropical Atlantic. Remember, we are currently in the peak of the season, which extends until mid-October, so we still anticipate the development of several tropical storms and hurricanes, and it's important to continue monitoring the tropics over the coming months. Also, note that according to climatology, between September 11th and 20th, we typically observe the entire Atlantic, particularly between the Caribbean and Africa, as well as the Gulf of Mexico and the Western Caribbean. The same is true between September 21st and 30th, where historically, we've seen system formation in the tropical Atlantic. In addition, ocean surface temperatures remain much warmer than usual, though not as hot as they were in 2023. In fact, in the past week, we've seen a cooling in the main cyclonic development zone, yet we are still at levels much higher than usual for this time of year, and these temperatures are expected to persist at least until mid-October. As you can see in this image, by the end of September, we anticipate a more favorable phase of the Madden-Julian oscillation, which could help generate more instability in the tropical Atlantic and Western Caribbean, creating slightly more favorable conditions for cyclonic formation compared to recent weeks. Some long-range models are already showing that we should keep an eye on tropical waves emerging by the end of September, as well as the Western Caribbean. For example, here's the GFS model ensemble projection for the end of September. The GFS model members show the risk of tropical cyclone development in the Western Caribbean, and we also have some indicating cyclonic development between the Caribbean and Africa. We see the same in the European model ensemble, with development probabilities in the Western Caribbean and just west of Africa. In fact, in its latest update, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center has marked the Western Caribbean, the southern Gulf of Mexico, and the area between the Caribbean and Africa as regions, with a probability of cyclonic development between September 25th and October 1st. Here at Hurricane Info, I will continue to monitor the situation in the tropics, especially with the potential development southeast of the U.S. Then, in the long term, we'll begin monitoring the Western Caribbean and the tropical Atlantic. Well, that's all for now. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the red button below that says subscribe, and also click the bell to receive notifications whenever I post new videos. I hope you all have a great weekend. See you in the next video.